Hello. So, um, last time in our last chapter, we saw how we can create cross using Pontifex and how we can use our lighting in our scene, and also how to create this cross and convert it to polygons in order to um, render it in mental ray. Okay. So moving on, this is what the last render looked like, and it took roughly about 7 to 9 seconds depending on your computer. On your system it might take more than 7 seconds or less, it totally depends. Alright, so now what I'm gonna do, or rather I have done some few changes, like I saved this file as this, I changed the name and I saved third save, and then I also went here and bookmarked my camera to medium, close, and far. Alright, so why I did that to, and also yeah, one more thing, I went ahead and increased tubes per step, and also I increased brush width to 1. So I also did that changes, so my grass looks a little better, it looks more denser, and it has wider area than before, because before that it looked like this. If I did not increase this, it looked like this now. So I didn't really want it to look like this. I wanted to make it look a little better. I wanted to increase the area, so I just increased brush width, and also I increased tubes per step. Alright, it was 10, so I just wanted it more denser, and I kept it at 14. Alright, so that's what I did, and there you go. So now we have cross like this. I'm gonna take renders in 3 different camera distances. Okay, one is on medium distance, close distance, and far distance. Alright, so save it, and I'm going to render. Now before I start rendering, one more thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go in mental ray settings, go to quality tab, and in here you'll find it's located here in anti-aliasing quality, ray trace or scanline quality, and in here it is 0 by default. I'm gonna keep it 1. Alright, in order to get a little better quality render. Alright, of course this is gonna increase your render time, but just keep it 1 so we can see how our render looks. Alright, so close it, and I'm gonna render. Okay, so first let's render far, and render. Alright, that took about 4 seconds. I'm gonna save that. Then I'm gonna render medium. This render took about 16 seconds. Alright, let's save that, and let's render close. Okay, let's go ahead and render. Alright, and this particular render took about 24 seconds, which was close. So you see I had 3 different camera bookmarks. Alright, one was far, medium, and close. So in this one, object was far away from camera, this was on medium distance, and this was in close distance from camera. The reason why I wanted to show you this, that whenever you render your scene, your object, if it is away from camera, let's say it is far away from camera, even though it has details, it will take less time relatively. Getting me? So this took 4 seconds for same polygons compared to this. See, So this was on medium rate, it took 16 seconds and it took only 4. And if you go ahead and take a look at this, it took 24 seconds. You know, we didn't change any polygons, we didn't add any textures, and we also did not do any quality settings. We have our quality still at 1, max sample level, that is. So why I wanted you to why I wanted to show you this is to, whenever you render, make sure, keep that in mind, that make sure that you have an idea how things work. Like, you know, if you take a look at this, uh, let's say I go more close, you know, like this. Maybe we zoom in more, okay. And now if I render, all right, if you take a look at this render, I went in close and this took about 31 seconds. So, you know, what I wanted to tell you is the closer you go to object, the more time it's gonna take to render. Alright, so keep that in mind. Alright, so I'm gonna keep my camera to close as it looks better like this. Alright, and that's what I wanted to show you before we do anything else. Alright, now let's move on to main topic. Now you see, like I said, we are going to take a look at how we can apply materials, or how we can modify our materials in order to make this grass look better and relatively more pretty than what we saw here. You know, this doesn't really look that good at all. I mean, none of these renders look that realistic or pretty, so we're gonna make it look better. Alright, so first thing what I'm gonna do is I'm going to apply a gamma correction to this particular material which is applied on grass by default. So to do that, all you have to do is go to Hypershade, and in Hypershade you can see in materials tab we can see that particular material which is applied on our grass. Alright, so all we have to do is we have to apply gamma correct node to this particular material to get better results and to get the proper colors which we see here. And you know, if you take a look at it, if we compare, this color is not anywhere on the grass. Okay, so that's a problem because we are not using linear workflow as we saw in chapter 1. So we have to apply linear workflow in order to get exact colors we are applying here. Alright, now this linear workflow, make sure any texture, any color you use, you always use linear workflow for that. That means using gamma correction node. Alright, now in this chapter I'm not really going to explain every tool and, you know, all this in detail. I'm just gonna keep it simple and quick. So there are other chapters in where you can go ahead and take a look at how we can use Hypershade in detail. Alright, but in this chapter I'm not gonna go in detail for that. So alright, so only a few things you need to know to use this properly, like how I'm going to use now. That first thing is, when you open Hypershade, in here you can see your Maya tools, whatever is there in Maya, and this other folder has Mental Ray. Alright, what you're going to use is this utilities option in here, and there are so many tools in here. Alright, but we are going to use few. So we are going to use utilities, and then in Mental Ray we are going to use materials. Alright, and in materials we are going to use a particular material called MIA material X passes. Alright, so that's all you need to know for now. But before we go ahead and apply material to our grass, let's take a look at the default material which is applied to grass. Alright, so to see that material in our work area and to see what textures and what kind of tools are connected to that material, all we have to do is select that material, and in here on top you can see this arrow is input, output, and it is input and output. So I'm gonna click on this, and once I click in work area, you can see we have a ramp node going into material phone. Okay, so what we have to see here now is how it is connected. Alright, so ramp, which is a color of our grass, is going into phone into color. Alright, if you go here and take your cursor here, you can see ramp dot out color goes into grass ornament one shader dot color. That means into color. Right, so there is a connection. So this is how usually nodes, or I must say all these particular tools are connected in here. Now you can notice this is not linear workflow, and to make it linear, what we have to do is use gamma correct node in here. That means we have to add this particular gamma correct node in here. Alright, but if you create your gamma correct and just simply start adding, it's not gonna work like that. Alright, so to do that we have to break this connection and create new connection. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna simply select that connection by dragging and selecting, and I'm gonna press delete, and it's deleted. Now you can see the grass has no color anymore. So now what we have to do is select gamma correct node, and we have to use this ramp node in our value. That means we have to take this node and connect it into value. Alright, now to do that, make sure you don't select ramp, but you select gamma correct. Alright, and then middle click on ramp and drag it into value. Now it has made a new connection to gamma correction. Yeah, so you can see it is going into out color and into value like how we did in here, and then apply values 0.454. Alright, and then this gamma correction node goes into color or form. So same thing, select your material, middle click on gamma correct and drag, and it's done. Okay, so this is how it works. And what we did is we created a linear workflow. Now this ramp is not going directly into gamma into color, but what it's doing is it is going through gamma and then going into color. Alright, that means we use gamma correction something as a filter. Okay, so there. Now that we have used gamma correct, let's take a look at how it looks with gamma correct. So this is how our render looks without gamma correct, without linear workflow, and let's take a look at how it looks with linear workflow. This is our render with gamma correction on. That means we have applied gamma correct node. Okay, and if we compare, we can see the difference, right? And we are getting the color which we wanted on our grass. Okay, it's not exposed and it's not looking bad. But even though we have used linear workflow, the grass does not look that great at all. I mean, it has this unusual, or let's say this bad looking reflections and unnecessary highlights, or I don't know, it just doesn't look that great at all. So that's because we are actually using default material. I'm gonna minimize this. We are using Fong, alright, and if you're using any these Maya materials, you're not gonna get any realistic output. I mean, you can, but not as good as mental ray materials, alright. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to use mental ray material to make this grass look better, or I would say prettier, alright. And now you see, right now I have used this workflow for my Fong, alright. So what if I want to use same nodes in my this mental ray material, alright. So to do that, first what you have to do is create a material, alright, and I'm gonna name it, of course. So let's call it grass, and we can name it MIA. I'm also going to name these nodes. So gamma correct is, let's say, this is for grass, and it is going into Fong actually, and then I'm gonna name it gamma. Alright, so I'm gonna duplicate these. So drag and select and press Ctrl D, and it will duplicate those nodes. And all I have to do is I'm gonna just simply connect ramp again, and now I'm gonna connect this gamma into color of my MIA material and not in Fong. So select that, and like we did before with Fong, just simply middle click and drag, and there you go, it's connected. Alright, and I want to apply that material to our grass. So select your grass, go to Hypershade again, and simply right click and assign material to selection, and it gets applied. So I'm gonna save this, and I'm going to render it with MIA material. Alright, so this is our render with MIAX material. Now if you compare, you won't see much difference, but the color looks more darker, that's all. I mean, there's not much difference in that. Alright, and there are not really many unnecessary reflections or translucency. But so you will ask, like, why all the trouble? Why you wanna just, why you don't wanna use the material they have given? I mean, why you have to create new material and then apply to grass? Well, let me show you why. So if I go in here, you see we didn't do any changes to our material, and that's what we have to do before we see any renders in here. So to do that, what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna change anything in our diffuse folder, so I'm gonna just minimize it. What you have to do is go to reflection, and in reflection go to advanced reflection, and in here you'll find one option is called skip reflection on inside. Now you see our grass is actually thin polygon. It's like, let's say it does not have inside and outside surface. Alright, it's like a paper. Now if it's not a box, it's not a closed geometry or anything like that, it's just plate of grass, so of course it does not have inside and outside. So for that, let me open, where did it go? Hold on. Okay, so for that, just uncheck this option. We don't want to use this. Okay, script reflection on inside, we want reflection on both sides. Also, go into advanced refraction, and in here select thin walled. Alright, after that, now in here you can see reflectivity is 0.6. Let me show you. Take a look at this. Reflectivity 0.6. If I decrease it to 0.1, you know, it is less reflective. If I increase it to maybe 1, it is more reflective. But because our glossiness is 1, the objects are going to be very glossy, and we don't want that. So I don't think grass looks that glossy, so I'm gonna keep it maybe 0.4. Alright, and also I don't want it this reflective, so I'm gonna keep it maybe 0.7. Alright, and then I'm going to render. Alright, so if you take a look at it, there's a difference between both of these images. Reflections are more blurred, spreaded. Alright, and also there's a reflection on the both sides of grass blade. Okay, before we did not have it. Okay, so now we have reflection on both sides. So those are the main changes you have to do when you are creating grass, so keep that in mind. And if we compare this render to maybe this, okay, there is a lot of difference. Alright, so I'm gonna compare one more time with this material settings compared to this. Alright, in this close view, so go to Hypershade, and I'm simply gonna delete this, and I'm going to connect this into color as it was before, and I'm going to apply this to grass. Okay, I'm going to save this image, and I'm going to take a render. Alright, and you can see, and there's definitely no doubt my material looks much better compared to what we had by default. Alright, so this is what we get when we apply MIA material to our objects. And you know, let me just MIA material with linear workflow. So this is the output with that. Alright, of course you can always go ahead and change your reflectivity settings. So maybe if I want it more glossy, let's say I'll keep it 0.55, and maybe more reflective, let's say 1. And if I render it, okay, so I went ahead and did some changes to reflectivity and glossiness. So I took 2-3 different renders with 2-3 different combinations, and you know, we can always go ahead and change our reflectivity and glossiness and get results. Okay, so it totally depends on you, how you want your grass to look, and what kind of output you want or required in your scene. But this is what we can do. Alright, so just go ahead and practice this and take a look at Hypershade. This is really easy to use. You just have to check out these materials, especially these, on your own. Also check out these textures. Alright, and also make sure you use gamma correct, alright, whenever you're using any texture, okay, like we did in here. So that's all. In next chapter we will see more. We will see how we can make our grass look more realistic, and how we can apply custom made textures from by using Photoshop, and also maybe we can use our own photographs, or you can just go ahead, download it from Google and use that texture in your scene. Okay, so all right, thank you for watching. Have a nice day.